What's up, sports fans? CJ the Painkiller D. Simone, host of Weapons Hot Mission Briefs, and you are currently watching the best Sunday morning football show on the internet, the Big Football Show. Enjoy and have a great morning.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, isn't he?
It's Sunday, and you have the Big Football Show as we cover all the biggest NFL and football news in the country. We have Ian Moore, too, until the season starts, as we will cover some other sports. Also, just to, round out the show. But, of course, in the regular season, we do cover nothing but football. We have some guests coming in today. Keith Angle scheduled to come in, also the Philly sports guy, to add to more opinions and more insight into the stories we'll be talking about. So good morning to everyone out there. Good morning, James. Good morning, Jack. And let's begin with some tragic news. Is a Minnesota Viking rookie ended up dying in a car crash. Kyrie Jackson. The other two people also involved that were in the car also got killed in that car accident. A shame. I mean, as we talked a little bit before the show, it happens every day. Of course, in being an NFL player, it's sports news, but it happens, and it's just a shame. So I feel bad for him, his family, everyone that's involved or related to him, friends, whatever. We kind of send our best wishes out to all them, and hopefully they get through all this. It's going to be a rough time. But anyway, I have a list in front of me of some of the most underrated NFL players in the league. We kind of talked about Goddard with the Philadelphia Eagles being a tight end there, probably one of the better tight ends in the league, but there are also many others that really don't get the recognition maybe they deserve, or maybe they're there. They kind of are a key to why the teams win that we really don't talk about. So I'm going to start off with Tennessee's Tyler Boyd. He catches over 70% of the balls thrown his way. Last year, he played really well for them. They pick up Calvin Ridley. So a lot of that attention in the defensive backfield will go to Calvin Ridley, a very young quarterback there. It's good to have two very good wide receivers, Jack, especially with Will Levis there. I mean, we still don't know what he is yet. He only had he started a little bit, didn't start a little bit. And maybe this year he comes into his own a little bit. We'll see. But you got to have at least a couple weapons as a young quarterback.
Yeah, you do. It depends the situation the player's in. It's easy to say underrated, overrated. But you mentioned Tyler Boyd. He has Will Levis throwing to him. We don't know what Will Levis is going to be. He's shown some promise. But the jury's still out. We don't even know will he be their starting quarterback the whole year if he falters at all. So, and then with Calvin Ridley there, it's obviously going to help him, but it all depends situations that player's in. We don't know what Goddard would be if he was with Tennessee as opposed to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Great point. It depends on the players around you. Good morning to Keith Angle from TGI Sports. We got, I want to lead off with this because I know Keith's, pick to be the next great quarterback out of the last class is Will Levis, Keith. And I would say with Tyler Boyd, he would be unappreciated, especially picking up Calvin Ridley. Again, as I said to Jack, you need a couple options, maybe 3 as a young quarterback, and we'll see if this helps Levis at all this year.
Yeah, any quarterback needs help, especially young quarterbacks. I mean, you saw Stroud was successful last year because he had some weapons, especially at the wide receivers that developed along with him. So I think, and Levis hasn't really had as much. He hasn't had as much playing time. He hasn't had much support and or the surrounding talent. So sometimes these are a work in progress. We won't know for 5 years till which one of these guys is the best quarterback.
If you're that concerned with just helping Will Levis, why move on from Derrick Henry? Because the running game for Tennessee is going to have to suffer a little bit too. So you'd think they'd want to keep Henry there, kind of like as a security blanket. But maybe Tennessee's smart. Maybe they think this is a time of Derrick Henry's career where he's going to start declining. So why not move on now?
I think the way Derrick Henry plays, I think would speak to that last part. He will probably decline in talent-wise faster than some other guys because of the way he plays the game. And I'm not sure the cap situation. I know they signed Pollard. I'm not sure what the exchange was there money-wise, but there could have been cap considerations with him as well, I would think.
So tight ends, I guess you could say, unless you're Kelsey or Kittle or one of the really big name ones, they're all pretty much, I think, underrated. Conklin with the Jets. I mean, he had 3 quarterbacks that he had to deal with, and he still had a decent year. He had 621 yards receiving. You've got the tight end coming from Pittsburgh, coming back healthy. His name is Pat Freiermuth, coming off injury last year, a couple of years ago, had a great year. And, of course, Jack's favorite player, Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram was 4th behind 3 big wide receivers in yards catching. And since leaving the Giants, Jack, his hands have become a lot better than when he was with them. And the Giants weren't patient and maybe should have been a little bit more patient with him.
You said it best, Mac. Teams have to be patient, but in this era of the NFL, they're not, because coaches, GMs, they're worried about their job security. That's why you see in any sport, they trade draft choices like 5-6 years from now, figuring, well, I could get fired in the meantime. If I can get players that'll help me win now, I'm holding on to my job, and then I'm going to worry about it later on. Evan Ingram always had tremendous talent. He dropped some balls in key situations. The fans got on him a little bit. And ownership wasn't patient. And look at the way he's thrived for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Think of what he'd mean for the Giants if they had him back now, because the Giants have struggled to replace him at tight end. They've gotten some name players like Waller, Rudolph, at tight end. Those guys haven't worked out, the name brands. Imagine if they had stuck with Evan Ingram all along.
I mean, great point. And Evan Ingram wanted to stay with the Giants, like a couple other we're going to talk about later. And let me just give you his stats to show how really good this guy really is. As I said, he had 114 receptions, 963 yards, and yards received, 4th in the league behind Lamb, Tyreek Hill, and Amon St. Brown. Pretty good company for a tight end, right? So I mean, you've got to like what he's done over there for Trevor Lawrence. Good morning, Rick. I'm glad you joined us today, as always. Keith, you've got one guy in there, Jabril Peppers, another former Giant, as the safety there. I mean, he had 8 pass breakups, 3rd or 4th in the team in tackles, 2 interceptions. Everybody talks about the defensive backs. They talk about the cornerbacks. You need that safety out there, especially playing center field, to read the quarterback, pick up the tight end, maybe blitz once in a while. It's a very tough position to play, and is why I think safeties are very undervalued on defense now.
I agree, especially depending on the defense that you're running. Safety has always been a very important position with the Patriot defense for sure. You go back to, you go all the way back to Lawyer Malloy and Rodney Harrison. obviously Devin McCourty, who I think will be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and Jabril Peppers, who his first year with the Patriots was a little bit of a disappointment. He was spotty at best, but he was a big part of this defense last year when he had to step up because of injuries. Or last year, if I didn't say that. And he will be, I think, this year as well. They like to use a lot, again, depending, the schemes will change a little bit, but not a lot, because a lot of defensive coaches are still around, including the new head coach. But they like to use a lot of different defensive backs depending on the look that they're giving. So Peppers is a big part of this defense. He played very, very well last year for sure.
I want you guys to think about when years go by. Peppers was part of the deal where the Giants got him for OBJ. They got Peppers. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think they got a late first-round draft choice in addition to Peppers, but they got additional assets. Now, if you wanted to trade Peppers now for OBJ straight up, no, Peppers has more value right now. So just think of these deals that are made. You can't really judge them for a number of years, but we tend to judge them at the time that they're made, but you never know how it turns out until later on.
Oh, as fans, we're like coaches too. We want to win now, right? We don't want to win 5 years from now. So everybody wants to win today.
That is very true. And I'm going to talk to Keith about that in a minute. But James, let's continue. Jakobi Meyers. I mean, they talk about Devontae Smith a lot. Devontae Adams, excuse me. But Jakobi has as much TDs receptions as did Adams. I mean, and he still had 807 yards receiving. And again, the double wide receiver, and I think, if you talk about the teams with the best chances to go to the playoffs, the Eagles and some of the other teams, I don't know if the Raiders are going to go to a championship or not, but they still got a pretty good dynamic duo there between Adams and Meyers.
Meyers just shows that you always can count on or need a good quality second option. I mean, Devontae Adams is going to be the number one guy, but he's going to get double teams. He's going to get sometimes triple teams. They have good tight ends there too as well, but you definitely need the second option and always have a guy that can maybe 7 or 8 TDs. That's a win. I mean, I don't know where he was drafted or not, but obviously he's got to probably have a high ceiling where he's playing. I mean, he's very much valued as a second option, and I look to see him continue that trend, playing in that role, having that. I don't think he goes. Maybe he hits 1,000. It all depends on the quarterback. I mean, the quarterback play there too is going to be suggestive of how his season goes. But I mean, to have a guy with reliable hands and get you that many TDs is a gem to have.
And Brock Bowers being drafted by the Raiders, you have to look for him to have a big, big year over there too. I mean, that he slipped to number 13 overall in the draft. The Jets bypassing Brock Bowers, it might come back to haunt them. I have a feeling if Bowers has a really big year, Jet fans are going to start complaining. And I thought the Jets should have drafted him. I understand needs. You want one more offensive lineman. I understand that. I get that. And the Jets have Tyler Conklin, so it wasn't crucial for them to get a tight end. But the Jet pick, taking an offensive lineman over Brock Bowers was a neat pick as opposed to taking the best player. And Matt, I'm a big believer you take the best player available, unless you're so loaded in that position. For quarterback, you're not going to take the best player available if you already have your franchise quarterback. But any other position, you could use the best player. And I think it comes back to haunt the Jets not taking Brock Bowers.
It might, Jack. It might not. I mean, we don't know how good Bowers is going to be as a tight end. We think he's going to be good, and we don't know how good your tackle is going to be either. As you said, it's going to take years to decide what was the best move. I mean, if you think a lot of head coaches think, the safest, best picks are the offensive linemen because they last years compared to some of the other draft picks. So we'll see. I mean, as you said before, who knows? We got to give a little time to find out.
Can I add something quickly? Can I add something quickly about Jacoby Myers and James's comments were dead on. Drafted by the Patriots, by the way, and one of the big. I have claimed for a while the Patriots dumping Jacoby Myers basically in a trade for Juju Schuster, trading the position off because they didn't want to pay him like $1 million more, was really a big factor in Mac Jones' regression. He was a guy who moved the chains, and when you needed to get first downs, he was a guy that was always open. The big knock on him with the Patriots, ironically, what James was talking about touchdowns, was he didn't get in the end zone. He scored 2 touchdowns in 3 years with the Patriots, but he was a guy who moved the chains, and that's the kind of guy you need to have on any offense, and it really hurt Mac Jones going forward. Just one of the things, by the way, not the only reason Mac Jones is no longer a Patriot.
Well, Kate, Mac Jones is now the backup quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. What type of career do you think he's going to have? He had a good rookie campaign, and then he faltered. Going forward, is he going to be a career backup, basically? Is he going to be a starter ever again at some point, or what?
I mean, he could be. It depends on the situation he ends up in, right? If he ends up in the right situation where he comes in, either wins a job, he's not going to win a job in Jacksonville over Trevor Lawrence, obviously, unless there's an injury. In his confidence level, if he turns his confidence level around and can get rebuilt, there's a possibility he could be in the league as a backup for a while. Could he be a starter? I never thought Geno Smith would be a starter again. We saw what happened there, so I would never rule anything out. It would take a lot.
Zach Wilson and Mac Jones, the future of the NFL.
Yes. They were.
Let's talk a little bit about a receiver that has been one of the best in the league, but really doesn't get credit for it. This guy has a bad attitude. Sometimes people say, but he's always amongst the league leaders. But Amari Cooper really doesn't get mentioned when you're talking CeeDee Lamb. You're talking about some of the great wide receivers at tight end. Cooper is left off that list a lot. And last year he had 1,250 yards receiving, and not only that, had 3 different quarterbacks throwing to him. So I think Amari Cooper gets and well-deserved rap of not wanting to be on the field in a crucial play one time at a crucial time. But as far as talent goes and as far as numbers goes, he is in the top maybe 8-10 wide receivers in the league, and he really doesn't get the credit. So
who cares about his talent, Matt? It's what he does as a player. And Amari Cooper has a label, and maybe there's a good reason for it. Why would the Cowboys just move on from him kind of casually? If he was really that good.
I'm not going to speak for the Cowboys because a lot of their moves make me scratch my head, Jack. But I know the attitude played a problem. We all know. We've talked about that. But as far as you're saying numbers, he has the numbers, Jack. He does catch for over 1,000 yards almost every year he's played. So the numbers are there. It's the attitude. And maybe I know he's looking for a new contract with Cleveland, like everybody else in the league is looking for a new contract. But if you're going to talk just pure stats, he is in the top 8, top 10 receivers in the league. And again, he doesn't get mentioned that much. So anyway, so Keith mentioned Mac Jones. He's mentioned New England Patriots. And I brought something up me and Jack kind of discussed a little bit, or maybe not even discussed, kind of talked about. New England Patriots are going to blame Bill Belichick probably for the next 1 or 2 years of their team falling. I know how fans are. It's going to be the former coach. They did it with Ali Sherman with the Giants way back when. They're going to say that Bill Belichick, I guarantee you, left the Patriots in a bad position. And I'm going to ask you, Keith, not only as a Patriots analyst, but as a fan, how long a path or how long will that work? I mean, Gerard Mayo is stepping into maybe one of the worst positions an NFL coach in the history of football has. And one of them, I mean, you're replacing a legendary Super Bowl winning coach. And your roster is not the greatest. But how long will the Patriot fans are going to say, okay, that's the reason why? Is it 3 years? Is it 5 years? I mean, how long did the Pats get a pass? As you being a fan, how long of a pass are you going to give them until they're a championship contender again?
Not long, quite frankly, the way they've approached the offseason. They've extended a lot of guys that are here. They've been running it back, not just running it back with the same players, but extending certain guys like Duggar and Tavia just got a big extension the other day. So, I mean, you can only blame Bill Belichick for so long. If you're going to give the players he brought in here extensions, I mean, that's not going to be his fault anymore. I think that, look, you can blame him for this year. Maybe you can blame him for 2 years, but that's tops. And you got to win on your own account sooner or later. And in a couple of years, you can turn over a roster in the NFL fairly easily these days between the draft and free agency. So they might get a pass. They'll get a pass this year, and I think they might need it. Or again, I said if things break right, they could have a decent year. That's perfect world thinking. But the organization and Mayo get a pass this year, and I think after that it's going to be on them.
Good, Jack.
I think when the blame game starts, the Patriot faithful is going to start blaming Robert Kraft, because I think his image is slowly taking a hit. How patient is Robert Kraft going to be? That's the question. If he fires Jared Mayo after a year and a half, let's say 2 years, Patriot fans going to blame him that it didn't work out getting Belichick's replacement. Say what you want about Belichick. Even though the Patriots had a losing season in his last year, and they weren't a good team at all, obviously. They played hard. They were competitive, okay? They hung in the games. But if this Patriot team is losing games decisively, the honeymoon period could actually end in its first year. If you're losing a lot of 17 to 14 games, they're hanging in there, they're showing potential for the future. The Patriot fans are going to give everyone a pass because they understand this year, I don't think expectations are high. I don't think it's high at all. If the Patriots go 7-10 and they're gritty in their losses, I think the fans will settle for that this year, understanding that next year they're going to be a playoff contender and in the right, trajectory. But I think Robert Kraft gets the blame. I think Belichick is past getting the blame at the current time with Patriot fans. He's gone, but Robert Kraft is there. So I think he's the one they come down on.
Well, besides that, too, the worry is, and there's been a lot of conversation about this, the Patriots turning into the Cowboys East because they haven't really hired a strong front office guy. And the perception is that Jonathan Kraft is the guy really who's a de facto GM here. And if their draft picks don't work out any better than Belichick's did here this past year, then if Derek May fails and the wide receivers they drafted fail, well, you can't blame Belichick for that. And we're going to know about that stuff within a year or two. So,
well, the problem is the first year when I'll be with you second, James, when they make a move like that, Drake May is not expected to play a lot. Maybe he sees the field, he starts before the year's over. But meanwhile, the guys they passed on, Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, the elite wide receivers, those guys more likely than not are going to play very, very well. And Patriot fans are going to take notice and, well, we could have had those guys. We could have had Marvin Harrison. That we have a quarterback we don't even know, is he going to be our franchise guy? So that's going to add to the discontent.
I lost my voice screaming about Marvin Harrison. So, yes, I'll be watching Marvin Harrison very closely this year.
Well, my question is, where's the defense at right now, Keith? I think defense with the rookie quarterback and an offense that's in question, I think the defense needs to take the slack a lot more for their offense. And I don't know where they are. So I think you have a better knowledge on that than me. Would you think they are?
They're not in bad shape defensively. They played very well defensively last year. Jack mentioned they kept them in games. They played hard. They never quit on their head coach. You can say a lot of things about Bill Belichick. That team didn't quit. They played hard every week. The defense was good. They get Matthew Judon back. If he stays, he's talking about leaving again. But they get Christian Gonzalez back, who they lost for a good part of last year. Their number one draft pick, and was playing great at cornerback. A position that the Patriots did lack on. As good as the defense played, cornerback's still an issue. Tavia, who they just signed, really made great strides last year. I like the defense, and I think the defense will keep them in games this year. Again, I don't expect a lot of wins, but as Jack said, I think there'll be some close losses, which are still losses, by the way.
In the end. But where I disagree with Jack is they say they're not going to blame Belichick. They sure are. They're going to blame Belichick for 1, maybe 2 years because of the talent or non-talent the Patriots had from him being the GM and leaving them with really no quarterback, a defense that will be good as I think it will be. But the main person that, you're talking Tom Brady to Jacoby Brissett or to Mac Jones to Jacoby Brissett. I mean, that, Mac Jones was drafted by when Bill Belichick was there, under Bill Belichick's watch. And so he is going to get the blame, whether it's deserved or not, just because of the players on the team at this point that are kept over. Now,
it won't be deserved after 2 drafts and 2 free agency cycles because
I agree.
But it could happen. You're right.
I agree. I mean, I remember, as I said, when Sherman for the Giants came in and started trading Rosie Greer and all those other Giant greats out and tried to build almost from scratch. The Giant fans never forgave him for that. So It can't happen. So anyway,
but if they finish the year strongly with Drake May as the quarterback, even if they have a dismal record, even if there's something like 4-13, but Drake May really looks good by the end of the year, Patriot fans are going to take something out of the season. They'll be excited if they have their franchise quarterback. Drake May could actually save the season, not in wins and losses, but how the year ends. If Drake May's the man, it's obvious, then the Patriot fans are excited for the following season.
I will bet you $100 right now Drake May will not see the field this year. He's not going in, Jack.
I believe he'll see the field. I do believe he'll see the field. I don't see he'll see it much, but I think he'll see the field.
The only way is if the last 2 games that's it. That's the only way. But as far as to go into to be a starting quarterback and to see what they got next year, he's not ready. He's just not ready.
A lot of things can happen. We don't know. Again, he had a very good OTAs. They were very impressed with some of the things that he did in his offseason. I'm not saying that's going to make him the starter. A lot of things changed. This time when Mac Jones was drafted, they didn't think he'd be the starter either, and things changed pretty quickly. But
someone's got to explain something.
Isn't Cam Newton either, by the way? So
someone's got to explain something to me because I don't understand this logic. The Patriots pick number 3 in the draft. They take Drake May. The Denver Broncos go number 12. They take Bo Nix. But Bo Nix is going to start probably from the go. And Drake May might hardly see the field at all this year. And so where's the logic? Why not just play Drake May? Okay, if Bo Nix could start for Denver, who has a better team than New England, okay? Who has a better team?
Max got him in the Hall of Fame. Max got him in the Hall of Fame. That's why he's starting.
Listen. If they do that, they're going to do just what they did to Mac Jones. He starts, he has a bad season, and here we go again in New England.
Mac was good. Mac Jones was good as a rookie, Mac. He was very good.
Yeah, he was good as a rookie, and then he stunk for the next couple of years. I'm telling you that if they do that with Drake May, and I know Keith likes for some reason Mac Jones rookie. There's a lot of reasons why the Patriots went to had a good year.
There was lots of reasons Mac Jones failed too that weren't all his fault. He's got to take responsibility.
Listen, Keith, I get it. There's a lot of reasons why Daniel Jones is no good too. We could list them all for half an hour, but I don't have any faith in Daniel Jones. I mean, it is what it is. Mac Jones couldn't handle it. Daniel Jones can't handle it. It is what it is.
Mac Jones. Daniel Jones can't stand a field.
They're not giving Russell Wilson excuses for his performance last year. They say he stinks, and that's why they got rid of him.
He's a 12-year veteran. He's obviously.
I'm saying we can give any excuses we want, Keith, or any reasons we want. He didn't do it, man. He turned to Zappy. When you turn to a quarterback like Zappy, there's problems, man.
Not
I
giving
don't
a
know
guy an offensive coordinator is not an excuse. That's a reason why you regress, by the way.
Yeah, I guess Keith and Daniel Jones has had 5 different offensive coordinators. Are you going to give him a pass? Are you going to say he's a good quarterback or he could have been a great quarterback? I mean, are you really?
Again, I think Daniel Jones, under the right circumstances, is a good NFL quarterback. He's got to stay on the field. He's had injuries. That's been his biggest issue. And he was drafted 6th, which isn't his fault, by the way. He's looked at differently because he was drafted 6th. That's not his fault.
Is Zach Wilson because of the terrible offensive line for the Jets? Is that why he wasn't a good quarterback?
No, I never liked that.
Listen, I get what you're saying. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, Keith. I'm just saying excuses after reasons after reasons after reasons. And if and a lot of quarterbacks have it rough. Terry Bradshaw had it rough when he first got to Pittsburgh. They do have it rough. They find a way to do it. And I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say anymore about it.
Yeah, Terry Bradshaw was surrounded by Hall of Fame players too, so that made a big difference. Just saying. I don't see.
Okay, listen.
I don't see great comparisons. Lynn on a Patriots.
Mac Jones will be a starting Super Bowl quarterback in a couple of years. What can I tell you? I don't know what to say.
I didn't say that.
Okay, all right. But we will talk about the rookie quarterbacks after Keith leaves because
after get the hell out of here.
He's got a show to do. He's got a show. I gotta let him go. Keith, it's always great having you on, my friend. Have a great show over there.
Have a great Sunday.
All right, buddy.
Bye-bye.
So, oh my God, fans are tough, man. Fans are tough. It's tough to tell them, man. Listen, I believed in Daniel Jones for 2 years.
One thing about Mac Jones. Mac Jones his talent or his success was predicated on the level of skill around him. I mean, when you look at Alabama, he had all the weapons around him. Yeah, I'm not making excuses for him. I'm just saying that's the type of player that he was. So he's not going to succeed at all if he doesn't have good talent around him. That's just what it is.
James, I mean, see, people think that I'm saying that, you don't need talent, that the quarterback carries the team. If you listen to me at all, the quarterback to me is not the most important aspect of the offense to me. And to me, that's the truth. All right. But we give all this attention to these quarterbacks today. And listen, Mac Jones ain't going to cut it. I'm telling you right now, believe me, he's not going to cut it. Zach Wilson is not going to cut it. There's a few quarterbacks in this rookie class that are not going to cut it. It's just the way it is. It's the position they're in. I'm
agreeing with you to an extent. I'm just saying Mac Jones is not the type of quarterback like Tom Brady had guys around him before Randy Moss. I mean, you didn't know those guys' name, but he made them a little bit better. He's not that type of quarterback. He can make guys better. He needs better guys around him. What I'm saying. That's just what it is.
Quarterback obviously is the most important position by far. Not even close, Mac. I don't know what the heck you're talking about. But
what I'm saying is,
the really elite quarterbacks, they find a way. The really great quarterbacks. I mean, for example, yes. Joe Burrow, when he's healthy, he hasn't had an offensive line, yet he's highly successful. Tom Brady, outside of having Randy Moss for 3 seasons, he never had a great receiver. Yet he makes things happen. Peyton Manning went through.
Listen, the Patriots, let me cut you off. Patriots had the greatest tight end maybe ever.
Gronkowski, correct.
They also had Edelman.
Correct. No, you're correct. I'm thinking of the wideouts. You're absolutely correct with Rob Gronkowski. I give that to you. Peyton Manning, 4 different coaches when he went to 4 Super Bowls, 4 different Super Bowls. So I don't want to hear, Daniel Jones, different coordinators, different coaches. If you're going to be given 4 or 5 different coaches, Mac, one of them has to be good that you have to.
Mac, I'm not disagreeing with you. I said, Daniel, listen, I came over. See, again, you're not listening to me. I said I have no excuses for Daniel Jones. I just said that. I have no excuses for Daniel Jones anymore. It's over. The party's over with Daniel Jones. Just like it's over for Mac Jones and Zach Wilson.
This is his last chance, Daniel Jones, this season.
It's over. I mean, what is he going to do? What is he going to do this year that will make Giant fans think
Well, he
you're going
has
to
Malik
you're going to
Neighbors. He has-
sign
he
this
has a-
guy to a long-term contract? What is he going to do?
Well, they can get out of the contract after this year.
That's I just said. What are they going to do? What are Giant fans? How do you explain to Giant fans after this year? What does Daniel Jones have to do for the Giant fans to say, extend him for another 4 years?
Well, that's the danger, guys. Let's say Daniel Jones has a decent year this year. Let's say he has a good year, not a great year, but a good year. What do you do the following year? Do you sign him to a 3-year deal? And it could be an illusion. And then you're back to the old Daniel Jones. It's a danger. It's like the Giants are still evaluating Daniel Jones. He's been there, 5 years?
Yes,
And you're still evaluating him?
Yeah.
You should know for sure whether he's your guy or he's not your guy.
I would think. And with that, let's I'm kind of going out of order here a little bit, but let's look at the Hard Knocks program that a lot of people are talking about. Of course, the biggest, most controversial thing is what was said about Saquon Barkley. Now, I don't think it was that bad a thing he said, but it's being taken like that, right? Shine says, listen, the running back market is not the greatest. We're going to overpay this guy when we have a lot of improvements to make on a team, wide receivers, on defense, and that. And the biggest thing I took away from what he said was, I am not going to pay a $40 million quarterback to turn around and hand off to a $15 million running back. Now, is that controversial? To some Saquon Barkley fans, it might be. I understand what he's saying.
It is dumb.
If your quarterback, if you're paying the quarterback as a franchise quarterback $40 million a year, if he's going to turn around and hand off to a running back, that's not why he's there. I could do that. Jack, you could do that. James, you could do that. We could all turn around and hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley and let him run. This is what Shine was saying. Now, as I said, Saquon Barkley fans aren't going to like that, but he's speaking the truth. I would love to have Saquon Barkley on my team, but in that regard, the way he said it and the text he said it in, he's correct. You're not paying a quarterback $40 million to hand off to a great running back. That's not what you're paying him for.
Hey, guys, imagine we can have an all-time NFL team. All of them are young again, and we have the greatest players of all time. What are we going to do? We're going to look at the pay scale for running backs for Walter Payton, Jim Brown, Eric Dickerson, John Riggins, et cetera, and we're going to say, no, we're not going to pay them that much. Running backs aren't as valuable. Are they out of their mind? Okay. Saquon Barkley is so much more valuable than any single offensive lineman or defensive, end, for example. I mean, just one-on-one I'm talking about. I'm not comparing running backs as a whole, the whole backfield to a whole line, because games are won and lost on the line, basically. You have great blocking. You make average running backs into good running backs. I understand all that. And you pressure the quarterback on the defensive, and I get all that. But someone like Saquon Barkley, who is the most valuable guy on offense, and to go on a pay scale for him, a low pay scale, and Daniel Jones is going to be less of a difference maker than a Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones' job is going to be basically to manage the game. He's not going to take over a game. He's going to manage a game, and if he manages it effectively, the Giants are going to be fine.
So James, let me ask you this. If you have one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, he's in his last year, how can you evaluate him if you're just going to hand the ball off most of the time? You can't, right? You're going to have to see how this guy throws. Can he use his weapons? Can he use Neighbors right? Is he going to be able to take over a game or not? Because you're paying him as a franchise quarterback right now. And if he can't do that, next year you got to make a move, right? And to me, I get it. I love Saquon. He's a great player. He's one of the best backs in the league. I get it. But if you're going to evaluate, as Jack said, Daniel Jones, you can't do that by him just handing the ball off 60, 70, 80% of the time. You have to see if he can take over a game or you get somebody else, right?
I mean, I agree somewhat. Look, you give 80% of the time the ball to Saquon because you have no confidence in your quarterback. You didn't have any confidence in Daniel Jones and what he was doing, so you got to give it to Saquon Barkley. And I would say that Saquon was injury prone. Maybe he's injury prone because he's running the ball more often than what he should have been. To give him away or trade him away might have been the best decision. So, like, I agree with you in that regards because you want to see what Daniel Jones can do. But he's been like Jack said, he's been there for 5 years. You kind of know what he can do. You know where he's at. I mean, if it walks like a duck, quacks like.
I don't.
Listen, guys. I'm a Jet fan, and I'm high on Sam Darnold for this year. He's the Vikings starting quarterback to start the year. I don't think J.J. McCarthy is going to be the starter, at least this year, because I think Darnold's going to have a really good year for Minnesota, but that's another issue. He was a Jet quarterback for 4 years, and my feeling was, even though he still has potential, it's time for the Jets to move on from him, because when you've been somewhere for a while and you haven't quite gotten it done, it's really time to move on and see, well, maybe you could get it done elsewhere. And I think that's the case with Daniel Jones. This is a 6th year. And like I said, the danger for the Giants is if he has a decent year, who's going to replace him next year? He's going to have the Giants over barrel. The Giants are going to have to sign him long-term for big money. And you make Daniel Jones one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. What a mistake that's going to be. What a mistake that's going to be. But let's see what Daniel Jones does this year. He might have a very good year. We don't know, but it's a signing that would come with a lot of risk if it goes past this year. If you can sign a Daniel Jones for 1 year at a time and keep playing it out that way, I'm good with that. That's not the reality of the NFL. These guys have to have multi-year contracts.
I'll tell you what's exactly going to happen. If he has a decent year, good year, they'll franchise. That's what they're going to do, and see if he can do 2 years in a row. I would. If he has a good year, I franchise him and see if he can do it 2 years in a row. So let's talk about a real good quarterback, Josh Allen. Now, Josh Allen, if you remember correctly, coming in was supposed to be a project, right? He was a great athlete, but he wasn't that accurate, and he wasn't this, and he wasn't that. Stephon Diggs comes over. Well, Josh Allen has Stephon Diggs to throw to. This guy has been MVP runner-up for like 3 years in a row. There's no one in history that has had more touchdowns than Josh Allen in his first 6 years. Listen, I would love to. I think any team that has an average to okay quarterback would love to have Josh Allen. He's responsible for like 70% of the offense of the Buffalo Bills. So, listen, I know he hasn't won the big one yet. Will he win the big one? Again, I don't know. But again, this is one of those quarterbacks that maybe on the right team or under the right head coach could be a Super Bowl champion. And I say the Bills, again, will have a good year as Josh Allen, the quarterback. He's a difference maker.
They've come close, guys. The Bills have been in the mix, and it's certainly not Josh Allen's fault. They haven't taken the next step. You even think of the playoff game they lost to Kansas City where they may have gone to the Super Bowl, 13 seconds left, and the Chiefs getting field goal range. They lost Stephon Diggs, but they did draft, Deion Coleman, is it, from Florida, a really good receiver. You wonder whether the Bills' window is closed or not as closing. I thought last year it was closing. And they came up with a strong effort, and they lost to the Chiefs in the playoffs. Close game, tough game. No disgrace there. But is Buffalo declining? Are they still in position to go to the Super Bowl? And I kind of wonder. The Bills could win that division. I could see them going 12-5 or something, even 13-4. I could also see them slipping to 9-8. Maybe not even making the playoffs. They're an intriguing team.
I agree. What do you think, James?
Yeah, Josh Allen is the Bills' golden ticket. once every 10, 20 years, the team gets a franchise quarterback, and he fits a bill. He's got a big, powerful arm. I mean, he makes some of those guys. This is what I was talking about, alluding to earlier, about guys having good receivers, but also making guys, no-name guys, look a lot better than they are. I think he's just one of those quarterbacks that, like Jack said, they're going to always be in the mix because you got a guy like this. This is what, like, the Giants and the New Orleans Saints, you want a guy like that. I got a guy like that in Breeze. When he's gone, it's like, oh, let's get him out of there. His arm's no good anymore. I said, wait till he's gone. You're going to see how it goes. And Derek Carr, of course, I don't know if we're going to put his name out there or anything like that, but yeah, he's just not the same. He's not the same guy as Drew Brees. Not even in comparison to him. So to have a guy like this, you can always be in the mix, or you can always continue to try to surround weapons around him, and they don't have to be elite guys. You can get mid-tier guys, which helps you save money because you're probably going to end up, I don't know what his contract is now, but the contracts that these guys have, when his time comes up, he's going to far supersede that because he's just that talented.
James, you made me think a moment. We use the term franchise quarterback sometimes loosely, but maybe not that many guys are truly franchise quarterbacks. A franchise quarterback means you know this guy's going to be a quarterback for years to come. It's not even a discussion. In the case of Josh Allen, it's not even a discussion. No one's saying, well, maybe we have to look at other quarterbacks for a couple of years from now. He's your guy. Patrick Mahomes is your guy. Daniel Jones isn't your guy. Derek Carr isn't your guy. Maybe he'll be there for years, but it's a maybe. That's the difference between a franchise quarterback and someone who's not. There's no maybe attached to it beforehand. And Josh Allen is one of the few guys you know is absolutely going to be a franchise quarterback. But you don't even know that with the Cowboys, with Dak Prescott, whether he's going to be it with all the talk. And you don't know it with these rookies for sure. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels. You hope they will. You're counting on them to be it, but it's a maybe before you know all these rookies' names, unless it's a Trevor Lawrence who's labeled as a generational guy. But even now, Trevor Lawrence, it's not maybe before his game. He's going to be a quarterback for Jacksonville for years to come. They made up their mind. They're not thinking in a couple of years. They might have to look at someone else. But like we said, Daniel Jones, it's a maybe. Even with Aaron Rodgers, even though he's a franchise quarterback, it's a maybe a couple of years from now. We don't know with Aaron Rodgers whether he'll even be the Jets starter in a couple of years. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But an elite view like the Joe Burrows, the Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allens, no maybe. There's no maybe in front of even Brock Purdy now. He's going to be a guy going forward.
I agree. And we'll be back, folks, right after this message and talk about the future and the early rankings of the future rookie quarterbacks this year. So we'll be right back after
this. Is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
Hello, this is Paul Semendinger, award-winning author and the host of the Dr. Sem Yankee Show and the Start Spreading the News podcast. And you are watching The Big Football Show, the very best football show in the entire world. And it's here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. Enjoy.
Back to the big football show here as we're waiting on Jack to come back from his I think he goes out and he runs some quick sprints during the breaks. He's still doing the 40-yard dash. So let's bring Jack made it back. I hope he's not too winded to talk, God forbid. So we got Jack back on. And listen, I wanted to go over the rookie quarterbacks early rankings, and this isn't from me. This is from Bleacher Report. And as Jack knows, with quarterbacks coming to the league, I'm pretty good at saying who's going to be really good so far anyway, and who more or less is going to have a lot of problems of breaking into the NFL. And I'll give away a little secret, all right? Besides playing quarterback, most of the time I spent in football and coaching, I met Norm Snead at the offense-defense football camp. And he gave me techniques and drills to do as a quarterback to get better. And when I watch these kids play in college, and of course it's a different game, it's a little bit more tougher in the NFL and that. A lot of things when I watch, especially if I watch a whole game, which I did in most of these young quarterbacks, I look at technique. I look at how they're throwing the ball, how you sit in the pocket, how they're reading, how they come off their first read, and not just run, but finding somebody else. Their eyes stay downfield. And whether the throw is kind of a throw they just throw up there and the receiver goes up and gets it, or they put it on the money. And with all these quarterbacks I've watched last year, the Bleacher Report agrees with me. And that's Bo Nix. I'm going to give you a few reasons why. Not only was he the most accurate quarterback in college last year, and you can say, well, here's Keith Taylor. Well, he was up against easy defenses, blah, 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 whatever. I'm telling you, the man's accurate. And he knows how to read a defense. If you watch him, he comes off different receivers. He's the oldest quarterback coming out in the draft in history, guys, 24 years old. And the same schemes he ran when he played at Oregon, Denver runs the same schemes, some of the same schemes. So it paves the way for this guy to have a good early impact. Is he going to be a great franchise quarterback? I don't know. But I'm going to tell you right now, of all the 5 quarterbacks we're going to talk about, he has the best chance. And it's not because I just like Bo Nix and I like watching him throw a game. I'm talking about overall. Being a quarterback, to me, he's the most overall best at doing the things quarterbacks got to do in the NFL. And that's why I think he's going to be number 1.
Well, I think it depends the situation the quarterback is in. Like Michael Penix, for example, he's not going to see the field that much. So this year, he's not going to be the most successful of the quarterbacks. And remains to be seen how good he'll be. I think he'll be pretty good, in time when he's given his opportunity. Caleb Williams, I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. Jaden Daniels, I think, is going to be successful because he's going to be given a full opportunity with Washington. They're gearing the team around him. He's talented. Drake May, I don't know. If the guy can't see the field this year and they have to baby him for the whole year, that shows he's kind of behind the other guys going in. So what makes you think he's going to surpass them? If you're the number 3 overall choice in the draft, you mean to tell me, you're not going to see the field, at all this year for a team like the Patriots? And but it's coaching too. I think Sean Payton's going to bring out the best, in Bo Nix. So I think the situation for Bo Nix is going to be very, very good. And he's going for a decent team too. They were 8-9 last year. Their defense came around. So I think Bo Nix is coming to a nice situation. Plus, he doesn't have to look over his shoulder at all. Because who's he going to see? Zach Wilson and Jason Stidham.
Yes.
He's on the no pressure.
I agree with everything you said there, Jack. James, let's talk about their second-rated quarterback. And because, as Jack says, Penix will be playing behind Cousins to begin with, I agree with this one too. Jaden Daniels is their number 2 pick, and it's because of his athleticism. He's got 96-yard sprinting capability. But we've seen what happened with young rookie quarterbacks too. That's one read, a quick second read, and they take off. They don't trust in the pocket. They don't trust in their reads. I think Jaden Daniels might be the second best quarterback in this draft class, but I think he's going to have a lot of problems this year being the starting quarterback.
Jaden Daniels had great success at LSU, and he studied. There was a huge difference between his first year at LSU and his second year at LSU. What the coach said, that Brian Kelly, he said this kid would come in early in the morning, study, and be the last to lead. He showed great leadership, a huge transition from what he was at Arizona State, and a huge transition from what he did the previous year at LSU. Now, that said, he had 2 talented wide receivers on each side, but he had some of the most accurate throws that I've seen as a quarterback in his transition. It was just incredible. And the running part was just an added mix to what he had. So he didn't use his first option to look, read, and then take off running. He went typically after his second and third read and took off running if there was nothing there. And he's probably going to have to do his first read in Washington because he don't really have a lot of talent there. And I think they're decent, but he'll be successful, but mostly because of his running and, like you said, his athleticism and his running ability. But in the long run, I think as long as they continue to build around him, he's going to be successful. But he's got to be careful because he's not that big a guy. He's got to learn to slide. I've seen his opportunities. Yes, he's taking some big hits.
James. Let me ask you this: you being a Saint fan.
1 minute, Jack. Between the popping and echoing, it's hard to hear. So I don't know. Maybe we got to put our mics on off when James is talking, but you're continuing popping, James. And I don't know why every show now. So I don't know what's going on with the mic there. But then to go out and come in again, it was the same. So I don't know what it is, but got to check it out. I don't know if it's just on this show you pop or you're popping on every show you're on, but you got to figure that out, my friend. Okay. So I just want to let you know because
okay.
You know, as a viewer, I'm watching your pop. I might check out. So that's got to be correct as soon as you can after the show. So James says, of course, he's a big Louisiana State. He watched that quarterback a lot, so maybe he's got a better read than I do. Listen, maybe he is. Maybe if they continue to build around him, it's a rebuilding year for the Commanders. But they didn't have a bad team last year, Jack. They played in a lot. They had some decent games they played in last year.
No, they have some decent players. You get the feeling it's a happy atmosphere of Washington, a very happy atmosphere. They're all in on Jaden Daniels, and in this modern NFL, if you're a really good running quarterback, you're not going to be a bust in the beginning. You can make things happen with your legs. And I think that's going to be the case with Jaden Daniels to an extent. He's going to run, but you have to know when to go down. You can't be like Anthony Richardson on the Colts who tries to battle for the extra couple of yards and winds up getting hurt. I want to ask James this. I was talking before about Bo Nix and with Sean Payton as coach, he's going to be successful. Am I overrating Sean Payton's ability to develop a quarterback? I'll tell you why. Because we think of Sean Payton and Drew Brees as being a great twosome together, the way he was a great coach for Drew Brees. But when Drew Brees came to the Saints, he didn't come as a draft choice. He came as a very good quarterback from the San Diego Chargers. So Sean Payton inherited an elite quarterback. After Drew Brees left, what kind of success did, Sean Payton have with any of the quarterbacks?
Well, I think closest that he came was with Jameis Winston, and we saw how that went. And he went down with am I still echoing or popping?
Yeah, you're still popping, but that's okay. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay. Wow. Well, he had a bit of success with Jameis Winston early on before the injury, and then he retired. So you saw some of the guys that he had, Gary Grayson, the kid out of Notre Dame. These are late round picks. I never really seen. We didn't draft anybody earlier. I think he won the draft. I don't know, but Andy Reid jumped in front of him. But there was never any show any improvement or development of the late round quarterbacks. So I don't really. I think it can be determined when you get the voting. I think there's an opportunity to build mass in Florida that Phoenix might have, and show his strength, but it's yet to be determined. We can't really judge what he had with for a long time.
Well, we hear the name Jameis Winston, and I kind of wonder, is Caleb Williams going to be another Jameis Winston? Because Jameis Winston was the number 1 overall choice in the draft, the way Caleb Williams is. And Jameis Winston, for a while, looked like he was on a good path with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But Jameis Winston's problem was he'd throw pick sixes. He would drive a team down the field and make a bad play. And he always had that potential where you thought he was going to break out and be a really good quarterback. But he was always like a little short of that. And I remember going to a game at Raymond James Stadium, actually, to see the Buccaneers play the Texans, and Jameis Winston lost the game for the Texans. He threw a couple of pick sixes, one to end the game. And then the next season, of course, the Buccaneers, they got Tom Brady and they won the Super Bowl. And that didn't reflect that well, on Jameis Winston, that they took the next step, to someone else, albeit the great Tom Brady. But and now he's a backup. He went to the Cleveland Browns, Jameis Winston, and look, maybe he gets his career back on track there. Everyone likes to use Geno Smith as the model, a guy who's kicked around as a backup for years after being a starter, and all of a sudden resurfaces into a starting quarterback. I think that's a little more like a fluke, and let's see how Geno Smith finishes out this year. But good for Geno Smith. He had a resurgence. But in part, it's a self-belief. If a backup still wants to start bad enough, still sticks with it, sometimes you just fall into an opportunity. Look at Gardner Minshew. He's the starter for the Raiders. Gardner Minshew. Give me a break here. He has an opportunity to be a starter going forward if he can play well. You never know what comes up. Baker Mayfield, he resurfaced.
Gardner Minshew is no starting quarterback.
But he's going to be the starter.
I like, but he's no.
I agree with you.
He is not a starting quarterback.
But he's going to start for the Raiders.
I like Minshew. I like Minshew a lot.
Raiders, Matt.
Well, he's going to be starting. Well, I don't know. Really, they may let the rookie start, depending on the field.
Yeah, he's going to start over Aiden O'Connell.
I don't know that.
No, in all probability, I'm not certain about it. In all probability. Okay, but let me throw this at you, Mac. If Gardner Minshew is the starter to start the season, and let's say the Raiders make the playoffs with him as a starter, and they get knocked out of the playoffs even in the first game, in all probability, he's going to be the starter next year, Gardner Minshew.
Oh, come on. I don't know. I don't know what you think about quarterbacks, Jack. Gardner Minshew has been on 4 or 5 different teams already. If he was going to be a starter, he'd already be a starter. Same thing with Sam Darnold. I don't know how many teams Sam Darnold's going to be on. He's not going to have a great year, Jack. The Minnesota Vikings are going nowhere. J.J. McCarthy's I'm going to get to him as I continue with the list, as we've gone down a bunch of side roads here, but enjoyable. But Sam Darnold is not going to be a starting quarterback next year or 2 years from now for the Vikings. He's not going to have a great year. And Minshew is not going to be the starting quarterback next year for the Raiders either. If their rookie can't do it. If J.J. McCarthy didn't think could do it, they're going to get other quarterbacks. I don't know about Minnesota, but I know the Raiders will. And I don't know why you have so much.
Listen, I agree with you about Gardner Minshew. He wouldn't be my guy. I'm just saying if he has a really good year, it's going to be, they'll continue with them. If he's playing well, just like, let me explain. Just like the Seattle Seahawks, they didn't want Geno Smith to be their guy. Geno Smith was given an opportunity when Russell Wilson left. He battled Drew Lock for the starting position. The Seahawks thought Drew Lock was going to be the starter. And what happened, you know, he played well, Geno Smith. So as a result, they stuck with Geno Smith. But you're not listening, Mac. You're not listening.
I am listening because you're going that you're saying the same thing you did about Jameson Winston. He's not going to be a great quarterback either. Listen, Geno Smith Geno Smith is a quarterback to the Seattle Seahawks because they don't have a better one. That's all.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So I understand what you're putting down.
Won't get a better one so easily.
And they did pick up the Washington Redskins quarterback last year. It's in the second year. I don't know what's going to happen. Right. I don't know what's going to happen. I just know, Jack, that right now we're going to Caleb Williams because we're spent a lot of time on quarterbacks we're not sure. So anyway, Caleb Williams. I don't think Caleb Williams is going to make it in Chicago. I don't think he's going to be a great quarterback. I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. And there's reasons for that. If you watch him against good teams, he throws a lot of interceptions. He's not elusive enough. He's good in the pocket. He makes some great throws out of the pocket like every quarterback does. His techniques are no good. I'm telling you, Jack, Caleb Williams is not going to be any better than Justin Fields was. Trust me. He's not going to be any better. He might be a little worse.
Well, there's a little bit of a difference. Justin Fields is a better running quarterback. Caleb Williams is good rolling out.
Not in pros. We don't know yet. We don't know yet.
They got a Rome Odunze, you know, an elite wide receiver. You know, he has more. There's another wide receiver. So, you know, they kind of have given him the weapons. And I think the Bears are going to allow him to develop this year. I don't think he's under tremendous pressure. I think fans still understand he's a rookie, even though he was the #1 overall draft choice. You just want to see the potential in him, I think, this year.
If he has a terrible year, Jack, if he plays worse than Fields did, or he throws a lot of interceptions with all of, I mean, you're right. They got a lot of people around him now as far as weapons going offense. If he has a terrible year, he's going to be another Mac Jones.
No. Mac Jones was awful the last couple of years.
Zach Wilson, I'm telling you, Caleb Williams is going to not be an NFL quarterback in 2 or 3 years. Of starting NFL quarterback.
No, when you're the #1 overall choice in the draft, you're going to have a job for years to come. You'll be in the NFL because someone is always going to trade for you or want you on their team because you were drafted so high because of the potential factor. You mentioned Zach Wilson, okay? Hypothetically, guys, if Zach Wilson had been a 6th or 7th round draft choice instead of the #2 overall choice in the draft, chances are he'd be out of the league by now. They feel this guy isn't any good, but because he was the #2 overall pick in the draft, teams think, wow, this is a bargain. We're getting this guy for virtually nothing, and we'll take a chance on him. Maybe he'll turn out to be something that the scouts thought he could be. You know, so they take a chance. Look, even when Denver traded for Zach Wilson, think of what they did. I think they did give up a draft choice, I think a 7th round pick, and they paid half his salary, like $3.5 million. So Denver did give something up. So they thought, you know, it's worth taking a flyer on this guy. We're not giving up a lot, but we're willing to give up something. They wouldn't have given anything up at Zach Wilson, even an undrafted player, very lowly drafted player, you know, originally.
I don't know what to say. Zach Wilson's never going to be a starting quarterback unless injury or, I don't know.
No. I don't have faith in Zach Wilson.
And James.
But I'm going to tell you this, guys, Mac, James. If Zach Wilson sees the field and he's successful, if he's good, how does the Jet organization live this down? If they had this guy for 3 years, let's be honest about it, outside of a game here and there, he was dreadful. Let's be perfectly honest about it. Someone's got to be blamed. I don't want to hear it wasn't the pressure in New York. Don't give me that nonsense. It would have had to be in the coaching, the way he was handled. How do you live that down?
It's a valid point. Valid point. James, what do you? I mean, I think you've watched Caleb Williams too. Every time I've seen him go against a good team, he throws like 3 interceptions.
He's a gunslinger. I look at him as no different than like a Brett Favre
don't compare him to Brett Favre. Come on, please don't.
James, you scored big points with me comparing Caleb Williams to Brett Favre. Give it to Matt. Keep telling him.
Brett Favre was an instant machine early on, but he threw a lot of balls. That's what I'm not saying. I'm just saying the caliber of player he picked. He's a gunslinger. Jameis Winston, the gunslinger. It just depends on the success. I don't think Caleb Williams is not going to have success. I think he's going to have. They're building a team around him like they didn't do around Justin Fields. I think Caleb Williams is better than Justin Fields. I think he's a better quarterback. But yes, he's thrown some interceptions.
How can you say that? He hasn't played yet. I love when people say he's going to be better than this quarterback. He hasn't taken a snap in an NFL game yet. Where's the comparison?
Well, neither has the quarterback that you consider the number one quarterback either. He hasn't taken the field yet either.
What I'm talking about. Well, I didn't compare Bo Nix to anybody this show because you chastised me when I compare him to a man similar to Drew Brees, and then you come out and you compare Caleb Williams to a Brett Favre, who's a Hall of Famer.
Yes, you remember. So I will say I didn't compare him to the success of them. I'm just saying the traits. I'm talking about the traits.
That's what I said, but you wouldn't let me go, James. I said the same thing you did, and every time I talked about him, just like Drew Brees. Okay, so anyway.
No, James got me thinking, Mac. We never discussed this. The greatest gunslingers, quarterbacks in NFL history, meaning these guys will pass. They'll take chances, they might get intercepted a number of times. They might make the big mistakes. But you think of Brett Favre, you think of Joe Namath as gunslingers. I don't think in this modern NFL they allow gunslingers. Quarterbacks just aren't allowed. And if a guy is a gunslinger, he's not thought of it as being such. But you kind of wonder whether that style of quarterback's going to come back. Let him play sometimes with reckless abandon. I think Josh Allen, in a way, is a gunslinger with his legs in a certain sense. He'll do things with reckless abandon at times. But, but if it succeeds, you have pure greatness.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So anyway, I know that my opinion, Caleb Williams will, after a few years, he won't be starting anymore. The fourth guy in there is interesting to me, too, is J.J. McCarthy. When I watched him play, of course, he was heavily a running team, Michigan was. And he made some throws, but he was not good accurately to me. The games I watched, he missed the easy, open throws. And let me tell you, you could say quarterbacks like Brady or certain quarterbacks, Drew Brees to some extent, dink and dunked a lot. 10 yards, that was their big play. Once in a while, they go over the top. If you can't hit the easy short outs and the easy throws, if you can't throw those balls, you're not going to make it in the NFL. You might play well for a couple of years, but eventually it's going to catch up with you. You've got to be able to hit the easy throws. And to me, J.J. McCarthy cannot hit the easy throws. And I think as the Minnesota Vikings, Sam Darnold might be the starter for the next 3 years, Jack, because I don't think J.J. McCarthy is going to be a starting quarterback in this league either. to be honest.
Well, at some point, he is, in all probability, going to be a starter. But then again, look at the situation, what happened with Trey Lance. With the 49ers giving up a couple of number ones for Trey Lance, it looked like Trey Lance was an absolute lock to be, the starter, and the 49ers wanted that to happen. But then Brock Purdy unexpectedly played so well, and Trey Lance got injured, and that set him back. And obviously, he wasn't the player, the Niners hoped he'd be. He's with the Cowboys right now, and he's not even their primary backup at the moment. So we don't know with J.J. McCarthy for sure. If Sam Darnold is really playing well, keep this in mind. Sam Darnold was the number 3 overall choice in the draft. And the Jets, to move up from number 6 to number 3 to get him, they gave up 3 number 2s. That Sam Darnold was even more highly touted than J.J. McCarthy coming out of the draft. Think of that, okay? I know the Vikings drafted J.J. McCarthy with the intention of him being their starter. But, guys, unlike us, they see Darnold and McCarthy practice every day. I mean, it's right in front of the Vikings, the reality. And if Darnold's playing well, why on earth would you want to phase him out? He's still young enough. So it's a good problem the Vikings have to an extent, but it's a possibility that J.J. McCarthy might not see the field as long as Darnold is healthy and playing well. It's not like Jacoby Brissett at New England. We know Jacoby Brissett's a bridge quarterback for Drake May. Jacoby Brissett might play well, but he's not all of a sudden going to become an impact quarterback. It's just not going to happen, even though he might play well. And even Jacoby Brissett knows at some point he's got to step down for Drake May, unless by some fluke New England unexpectedly wins this year, wins next year. We know what the deal is at New England. But at Minnesota, I mean, it's not as sure of a thing with J.J. McCarthy seeing the field as it is with Drake May seeing it at some point at New England.
What do you think, James?
J.J. McCarthy should be last on the list, and he should be last past some of the undrafted free agents. I was never sold on him at Michigan. I think he did what he was supposed to do, what he was asked to do, and that was to limit turnovers, to manage the game. And that's pretty much what it's going to be. But like you said, if he can't throw those outs, he's not going to make it in the league. And I think he was overdrafted. I think his former coach hyped him up in the media and got him picked to be. I knew he was going to get picked too. Once I heard it, I said, okay, somebody's going to steal him, because they're hyping him up in the combine and everything else. But I think they're, like you guys said, I see Sam Darnold as a starter, and he might play the whole year unless he does. I mean, if he doesn't do well, they put McCarthy in this year. If he doesn't do well this year, they're going to put him in and obviously see what he can do. But I just don't see high level of success there unless they got to build around him. But even then, like you said, if you can't throw those outs, it doesn't matter if you build around him. It's just it's a miss out for me.
Guys, you know what we haven't even discussed with Minnesota? Are we certain J.J. McCarthy is going to be number 2 on the Viking depth chart to start the year? Because they still have Nicky Mullins, who played from last year. Because that's very important. Because if you put J.J. McCarthy as the primary backup, feeling he's not really ready to play yet, you want to baby him. If Darnold goes out with an injury, then you're rushing J.J. McCarthy in and messes up your plan as far as developing him. So I kind of wonder, is he going to start as third string? But then again, you get less reps than if you're on the second string team. So it's a very delicate situation with Minnesota.
I think that gets decided. That gets decided by the first game. I think Nick Mullins will stay there, and I think when the first game starts, you could see Nick Mullins being moved to number 2 and McCarthy to number 3. He's going to be getting the most snaps, more snaps than Mullins right now in practice. But they may move him
Development,
in the season. So The last quarterback that had it, we talked with Keith, and that was Drake May, according to Bleacher Report. I say between him and McCarthy is a toss-up. He needs a lot of work, they say. Even the Patriots are saying he still needs a lot.
Let me ask you this, Mac. Let me ask you this. Do you believe the reports were true that the Giants were looking to trade down with New England because they wanted Drake May? And if that's accurate, there's got to be something to Drake May where the Giants thought this guy's going to be an outstanding NFL quarterback, and we really want him bad enough.
Well, if you watch, I don't know if you watch any of the college games he played in, Jack. He has a big play capability, running and throwing the ball. Again, some of them throws are just thrown up, and I don't see. I'm looking for somebody accurate, right? I want to see somebody that puts the ball in them small windows, not just throws the ball 65 yards down the field and a receiver goes up and grabs a one-handed reception. That's all well and good, and he's a great big guy. Great athlete, can run with the ball. Yeah, I think he was second quarterback rushing last year behind Jaden Daniels, if I'm not mistaken. And I think he was first the year before that. He's a great athlete, but a great athlete don't make a great quarterback. So I think the Giants had interest, and if you're gonna go with the philosophy, we're gonna keep Daniel Jones another year, maybe franchise him another year after that. Then we bring Drake May, maybe. I wasn't a big fan of them going to get Drake May, to be honest with you.
Guys, it's a danger to draft a quarterback in college who's a game manager like J.J. McCarthy, because especially in college, these quarterbacks have more of an opportunity to be game changers, okay? And J.J. McCarthy wasn't a game changer. He wouldn't take a game over, unlike some of the other quarterbacks who were drafted. So that's why, it's a little worrisome. Now he goes to another situation. These quarterbacks were game managers in college, and they can't just manage a game with certain teams. I mean, they've got to be difference makers to an extent.
Well, James, I think the overall strategy of Michigan was to out-physical everybody offensively and defensively. That's how they thought they could beat the big SEC teams, right? You're going up against Alabama, you're going up against, Arkansas, all these big, strong SEC teams that will pound you and take the game over defensively. I think Harbaugh's total strategy was, we're going to beat you up. And J.J. McCarthy, if he has to make a throw now and then, great. And he had a great defense. If McCarthy made a mistake or they didn't complete the drive, their defense would beat you up. And I think McCarthy is a product of that system. He felt comfortable with McCarthy because he was an athlete. He can run too. I think he felt comfortable there. He didn't want a game changer. He wanted to dominate you. And that's what his whole strategy was last year.
Okay.
That's not just last year. It's always been his whole MO. If you look back at San Francisco, you look back at Stanford, they ran the ball. Yeah. They always ran the ball, and you see play action after that. But I mean, for the most part, and you have a really good defense. San Francisco had a great defense. Michigan had a great defense. They took pages out of Alabama's. I mean, even Alabama changed it. Alabama used to run the ball a lot, but they switched to spread offenses. So. If you look back like you got old school, you understand having a great defense and a great running game and pass every now and then wins you championships.
And that's what he did in the draft, James. Look what Harbaugh did in the draft. He could have had Malik Nabers. He took Joe Alt, an offensive lineman. So that backs up the philosophy you were saying.
That's true.
So you're always. Yeah.
And I just want to say one last thing on J.J. McCarthy. What might help him get through if he's given the opportunity, sometimes are the weapons you're given. And keep in mind, Minnesota has a couple of elite wide receivers. They might have the best in football in Justin Jefferson, and they have Jordan Addison. So they're weapons. They're guys who can get open and create things. So, that could bail a quarterback out at times.
It will help Sam Darnold, that's for sure, because we don't want him seeing ghosts. So anyway, let's go to the last guy, Penix Jr. He's a backup of Kirk Cousins, and that's why he's number 6. I think he's the second best quarterback in this draft class. I think he's better than Jaden Daniels, I'll be honest with you, as far as throwing the ball goes. And I'm just basing this off throwing the ball, guys. I'm not basing it off being an athlete. I'm basing it off throwing the football from what I saw. And to me, it's kind of good for Minnesota, kind of bad for Penix that he ended up in Minnesota. Maybe if he had a dad like the Mannings, maybe he wouldn't end up in Minnesota.
He ended up at Atlanta. They traded. They took him.
Sorry, my bad. Yeah. You know what? I think everybody knew what I was talking about. Hopefully, but
we're talking about Minnesota so long with JJ.
Yes, too long. But anyway, Penix Jr. Maybe for better or for worse, if he had a dad like Peyton Manning and Eli did, maybe or Elway or something, maybe he would have ended up somewhere else. Who knows? But he did get a nice contract, and he has the opportunity to watch Kirk Cousins lose big games at night. So that is something hopefully he doesn't learn from Kirk Cousins.
Let me ask you guys this 1 second of thought, okay?
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is criticized, and rightfully so, for missing, the mandatory workouts, a couple of them. Yesterday, who was at Yankee Stadium watching the Yankee Red Sox game? Kirk Cousins. He flew in because one of his cousins, I forgot the name, is a middle relief pitcher for the Yankees. And he just wanted to catch a Yankee game, Kirk Cousins. He's at Yankee Stadium watching the game. Aren't the teams in camp now? The season's a couple of months away. I know you have a life, whatever, but you're given one day off to unwind and, to get on the plane and fly to New York. I mean, I'm not criticizing them, even though you're going to say I am. But you're one of the NFL players' schedules. You know how they are. You know what they should do on their off day or whatever. I don't know, but no one mentions it. Oh, why is Kirk Cousins away? I know he had to have permission, and maybe it was just an off day. But like I said, the season is a couple of months out. I would think camp had started now.
I think he had a day off. Go ahead, James.
No, I was just going to say training camp hasn't started yet, so I imagine they're giving a leeway between mini camp and training camp. So I'd imagine he understands what he needs to do. And then at the same time, this is a guy that's still recovering from an Achilles rupture. So,
well, Simon,
I think he understands.
Simon Biles, I hope I didn't have a brain cramp on him, the great gymnast, her husband plays in the NFL. He was given permission to watch her play in the Olympics. Watch her perform in the Olympics. It's going to be given permission when she's in Paris, supposedly, reportedly. And we're going to be closer to the season at that time. And he's, I don't want to say a bit of a fringe player, but not as secure as Kirk Cousins. So, there's certain reasons you have to allow a player, the leeway to leave the team for whatever reason. And I'm all for that. You can't hold them hostage to the team every moment.
Yes, I agree with that. But again, I don't see no big deal with Kirk Cousins taking a day off. He didn't fly to Egypt. Or he didn't go, he didn't go to Paris, or to miss some.
Aaron Rodgers cleared his mind.
That's what he said. I don't believe him. I think he made that up. But anyway, I'm joking with you, Jack. Aaron Rodgers go to Egypt anytime he wants. I think he should go to Egypt during the regular season, to be honest with you. And just anyway, so let's. I want to discuss something. I don't know if Pag's going to make it on or not. His schedule will be on, but is there a better offensive skilled five in the league than what the Eagles have right now? Hurts is the quarterback, Barkley's the running back, Brown and Smith are the wide receivers, Goddard's the tight end. Is there anyone in the league that's better or equal to it?
Well, it's between them and the 49ers. It's very debatable. We could break it down position by position nearly, and we could get an answer. Who would you rather have as quarterback going forward, not what they accomplished, even though both have accomplished a lot. They both went to Super Bowls. Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy. And guys, I can't believe I'm saying this because I've always loved Jalen Hurts, but I have a little more faith in Brock Purdy moving forward. Because Brock Purdy strikes me as the guy who's going to be there 10 years with the Niners or whatever. Jalen Hurts, you know, I didn't like the way last season ended.
That's tough. James, what do you think? That's a tough choice for me. I'm not sure. I think it's almost even. What do you think, James?
I give it. Look, on paper, like Jack said, am I breaking up still?
Yeah, but go ahead.
Okay. So on paper, the Eagles, if we look individually, position, they're top notch. They're hands down probably the best offense of the league. But everything is going to be predicated of what their coordinator and whatever issues they had last year, if that can be rectified. Because you can't deny the talent that's there. I think the situation is just whatever was going on between them and their previous offensive coordinator and their coaching, that matters. That matters greatly. So, you can look at.
But look at the other positions.
It does. So we go like Jack says, position by position. I think it's a toss-up. And the only reason why it's a toss-up is because Hurts, his leadership came into question last year, all right? There was a rift between the players. On paper, I mean, Hurts is a better runner. Maybe Purdy's a little more accurate, maybe. So I think that's pretty much a wash. You go to running back, I think he would give Christian McCaffrey, based off last year, an edge, but not by much. I think running and catching the ball are very similar, but I think you would have to give McCaffrey the edge, a small edge. But
close. I'll agree with you. Barkley, McCaffrey's close, but you know, as much as we love Saquon Barkley, he's a tiny bit behind. You know, maybe he'll have a bigger year.
I think. But then you start getting to, and we got to give. No, we don't, because Kittle had an off year. I think Goddard might be
Kittle's better.
I think
Goddard.
I think Goddard and Kittle are very close, Jack. I think they're very close.
I mean, no disrespect to Goddard, but Kittle has a clear edge, even though Goddard is one of the better tight ends in the NFL. I'm not disrespecting Goddard. Keep in mind, Kittle fit into the 49ers scheme. A lot of his responsibility was blocking, and Kittle is there. If the other offensive players are struggling, Kittle is a great weapon, you know, for Brock Purdy to have. Keep in mind, people were talking just last year who the best tight end in football was, Travis Kelce or George Kittle. The debate had been going on a while. Kittle hasn't really slipped. It's basically been how they've been using him because they have so much talent on offense.
Yeah, so
they
do
haven't had to use him.
I'm not buying that. So do the Eagles. I don't have the stats in front of me, James, but I know Kittle fell off in the playoffs. He was almost he had maybe one big catch that I remember. I know he fell off. I know that for a fact. And I know Kittle is a little bit more older than Goddard. I don't know. I don't think it's clear cut as it was 2 years ago, or if Goddard was around. I think Goddard might have been a rookie 2 years ago. I think Kittle was one of the best tight ends in the league. I think he's fallen off a little bit, if I'm being honest with you.
Kittle is more so better known for his blocking. He can catch. He can do some really good catching. He's a decent catch. He's not like Kelce. To me, Kelce is better in that regard. But
I agree.
Goddard is kind of let's just say Kelce is probably on the downside of his career and Goddard's on his way up. Let's put it that way. Because it's hard to really I think they're still at this level right now together.
Let me give Jack the right edge here. I think right now Kittle edges him. I mean, as opposed to career right now, I think it's going to change very shortly. But here is the biggest where the Eagles take the lead at wide receiver, right? Brown and Smith. I mean, the 49ers do not have – you could say Samuels with Brown maybe, but Samuel's a running back slash wide receivers. He's just great at both and hard to bring down. But if you want to say strictly wide receivers, I think the 49ers have one better. How's that? One better.
Deebo Samuel is an all-purpose player, running the ball, catching the ball.
Yes.
And I love Devontae Smith on the Eagles. I think he's outstanding. I felt that way since he came out of Alabama. But Deebo Samuel's a little more of a weapon. I mean, he's just a little, just like Saquon Barkley's a threat to catch passes out of the backfield. Deebo Samuel is a wide receiver who's a threat to run the ball, end the rounds or whatever. They could use him so many different ways. I don't disagree with what you're saying with the A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith combination. That might be the best 1-2 in the NFL. I'm not arguing that point, and I would give the Eagles an edge, those two against any two, I think, in the NFL right now. But Deebo Samuel, he could take over a game at times on offense.
I know. You're right.
The only problem with Deebo Samuel is availability. He's not always available because of how they use him. He gets hurt a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you could say. I mean, listen, Saquon Barkley's been injured 2 out of his 5 years too. I mean, you could say that about that too. McCaffrey used to get hurt all the time too. So, I mean, that would have to change. I agree with you. But are the 49ers better? And that's what I mean. At their 5 skill positions, are they better? I don't think so. I think it's pretty much equal. And I think
pretty even. It's hard. It's a hard one. Whichever, if you gave me a choice, which 5 I could have, for the upcoming season, I take whoever.
Yeah. I don't know why. The only thing that bothers me is the chemistry on the Eagles. The chemistry is there on the 49ers. It wasn't last year with the Eagles. That's the only thing that bothers me, and that's a coaching problem. So I don't know if, like James says, a new coordinator, or if it's the head coach's fault. Absolutely, and it doesn't matter what coordinator you get. That will be interesting to me this year to find out. I mean, I think that's going to be the key to the Eagles either going, far as they can. Maybe the Super Bowl is the chemistry, because they sure got a dynamite offense, and their defense is not scrubs either. They got a decent
guys. That's what I kind of want about the Eagles. People are acting like the end of last year never happened.
Yeah.
Where they fell apart at the end of the season, losing to weaker teams like Arizona, even at home, and blowing the bye, and then playing poorly against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and getting eliminated in their first game. I mean, come on. And we act like it didn't happen. Even though they made certain changes, added certain players, even getting Bryce Huff from the Jets and, of course, Saquon Barkley, the core of the team is still there. You never turn a team around, and you kind of wonder whether that team hit a little bit of a wall. I mean, we're counting on Saquon Barkley to save them, a couple of other additions and this and that. How do we know they're not going to start the season? And like you're saying, Mac, the chemistry isn't going to be bad, and they're going to be very mediocre. I mean, we really don't know. That it's a real X factor when it comes to the Eagles. And Jason Kelce, he retired. I mean, there's got to be emotional issues attached to a team, certain leaders, involved who are no longer there.
James, Jack is right to a point. I mean, you've got Philly fans that will act like the last 6 games didn't happen, but a lot of fans of other teams want to forget that Philly was in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago too. I mean, it's not. I mean, that happened also. So I mean, it's confusing to me how somebody can drop like that at the end of the year, especially after being the Super Bowl. Is it the runner-up curse? Is that all it is?
No, obviously there's some contention internally. I mean, and I think mostly, I don't know what's going on internally. I'm not there, but no, it's not the curse. It's because the talent's still there, and the chemistry is not. The chemistry is not, like you said. And so hopefully more, the new offensive coordinator or the coach, can get this team and get them back into contention, because I still see them as a favorite in the NFC.
Yeah, they're definitely a Super Bowl, one of the few Super Bowl contenders over there. We're gonna save the breakdown and the look at the rest of the divisions for next week. I want to get into a little bit of baseball news, and pretty interesting to me. And this wasn't brought up yesterday on the Sports Memory Show, but I think me and Doc and Jack discussed it. I'm not sure. I know me and Doc did. Maybe before Jack came on, we discussed it. Aaron Judge has a personal hitting coach. Of course, every team has a hitting coach, but Aaron Judge's personal hitting coach said the Yankees at player development are terrible, that they don't know what they're doing as far as that goes, developing the young kids. Of course, the timing's everything, because the next day, the rookie first baseman hits 3 home runs in one game, the first Yankee ever to do that. But is he right? Is he right? I mean, since the days of Jeter, Posada, blah, 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 the 90s, the Yankees have had trouble developing their young players. They don't stick around that long. Volpe is maybe an exception to the rule of, the Yankees are always getting free agents to fill a roster. Do the Yankees, and have the Yankees over the past 10, 15 years had a terrible player development and plan in place, Jack?
Yeah, good question. I mean, Austin Wells is their catcher, behind Trevino right now. Maybe he's the heir apparent. He was drafted in the first round by him. Volpe, obviously, and Aaron Judge, are homegrown products. But, yeah, they do go out, get players. Ben Rice is coming up through their system. The coach shouldn't have made the remark. Maybe he didn't know it would go public, Aaron Judge's hitting coach. Aaron Judge then said, I have nothing to do with that remark. I hope he talked to his hitting coach and said, you can't say that, because it does make the Yankees look bad. And it does look like Aaron Judge's personal hitting coach would like a job with the Yankees, because Aaron Judge has been so ridiculously successful. Maybe the thought's going to be, wow, we want him to work with our other hitters as well.
And that's a great point. And I think in all sports, that is the key to continually successfully winning. I think that's why the Packers won. I think that's why the Patriots won. I think that's why the Yankees won so long ago. I think that's why the Phillies are starting to win. I think winning teams, consistently winning teams have player development. And that's something the Yankees, I will say, will have been remiss with. So let's turn to the NBA. James, 35-year-old former Bulls, DeMar DeRozan, signs a 3-year contract with the Sacramento Kings, $79 million. Of course, the player salaries are all out of whack anyway. Still a good scorer at 35, James.
Yeah. He came in second to Steph Curry to the Clutch Award, because he was on a terrible team. Let's just get that out there. Chicago was not good, but he averaged 24 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists, and he's 35. And so if you look at him, he still has explosion. He still has a really good explosion. I think that's going to be a good combo for. And as a good veteran coming to Sacramento to help with clutch, to help win more games, because some of those games at Sacramento were very close, that they lost were very close. And he's going to be a good combo with De'Aaron Fox as 2 guards. And so I like the move. And I think you got him at a relatively inexpensive price. I mean, for what it is, 3 years, 74, 79 million or something like that. It's really not bad when you look at, especially at his age, because at some point, the question is when he's going to decline. He is 35, and so that explosion at some point begins to wane. But I think it's a credit to him taking care of himself. Probably somebody taking a page out of LeBron's book, spending a lot of money investing in their longevity and learning the game. Because you look at him, he is a clutch player. He can win games at the end of games. I think he's just going to be on a better team.
Yeah.
The Sacramento Kings slip under the radar, guys. Whenever we talk about the loaded Western Conference, we start naming teams. We name the elite teams. We now name the Mavericks because they went to the finals. The Denver Nuggets, the Minnesota Timberwolves, OKC, the team of the future. Then we talk about the Lakers and Golden State and don't even mention Sacramento. No one ever mentions the Sacramento Kings, and they had a winning record. They had a winning record. They had actually a decent team before this move. You wonder whether this move elevates them, if they weren't already ahead of the Lakers or the Golden State, going into next year. You kind of wonder. It doesn't make them quite a championship contender, but it does make them a legitimate playoff threat. Legitimate.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, last year they owned the Lakers. They won every game against the Lakers. I think it's just a matter of them being a small market versus Los Angeles Lakers in their history and LeBron James. So they're big markets. So you're going to talk about them more in Golden State. But yes, I think they're underrated for sure, and they're probably going to make some moves this season.
And Mike Brown, an underrated coach there with, Sacramento, what he's done.
I agree with that too. So we had our first Bronny James game. This is the last time I'm talking about him until the regular season. He plays 21 minutes.
You have to talk about him, Mac. He'll be on the news, and you're going to run out.
I don't want to, Jack. I don't want to. Anyway, Bronny James, 21 minutes. 29 minutes, gets 4 points and 2 rebounds. And, of course, they show LeBron watching his son make a layup. I mean, how cheesy, how ridiculous. And anyway, that's it. So he did score a whopping 4 points, guys. Great pick. Good signing. And hopefully everything works out for you guys in the end. So.
I got to tell you something funny. I first saw the highlight. I didn't see the game. And it says, Bronny drains a three-pointer. Then I see another highlight. Bronny puts on a great move, gone to the basket. So then I check the game. I look it up because I'm saying, man, Bronny, all right, Bronny. And then I see 2 for 9 and this and that. So listen, he might be a good player. Yeah. Obviously he's hyped up. But I don't want to hear this with Bronny because Bronny could have told his dad, I'm the Lakers, don't draft me. I want to go elsewhere. If no one drafts me and I don't have a team that'll take me, then I'll go to the Lakers as a free agent. But, he put himself in LeBron's hands. He set this situation up, Bronny, to a degree. But listen, it goes on all the time, nepotism in sports all the time. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. Look at Giannis, his brother's on the Milwaukee Bucks. Even though his brother is actually perhaps a legitimate NBA player. He was with the Knicks for a little bit, I think in 2016 for a cup of coffee or something. I'd have to look that up.
Yes.
But, it goes on. Look, even we're talking football, Bill Belichick before. Well, his sons want to staff as coaches.
Well,
it goes on all the time. I don't fault LeBron or Bronny.
Let's stick at the NBA and let's stick with the players for a second because coaching and playing, of course, are 2 different things. So I agree with you that there is other players that have brothers and stuff in the league, and there has been. But this is where all the attention is going, Jack. And so this is the problem. Nobody knows about Giannis's brother. Nobody, not too many people know about Toppin's brother. It's, we know about Bronny James, and that's why it's free picking at the apple tree. If it's low hanging fruit, it's what it is, right? So, I mean, and if they're going to show pictures of LeBron James looking at his phone saying, oh, look at you. I mean, come on. It's cheesy. It's stupid. Let the kid play. And I don't want to talk about him anymore, James. I really don't. So please don't bring it up again.
Well, at least he met his average in college. He got 4 points.
Yes, he did. That's true. That's a way to look at it.
He should have played an extra year. He should have went back to college for a full year. If you want to really do it the right way.
Yes.
What was the rush? The family has so much money. If it's a financial thing, and you want to get the money, lifetime security, okay. But his family is filthy rich.
Yes,
He could have
yes.
afforded.
And I
He
think
could have afforded to spend 4 years in college if he wanted
I
to.
think we all know why he came out in the draft, and we put that to bed. WNBA Rookie of the Year. There's a fight here. I mean, you got Angel Reese doing double, setting records, 27 points, 10 rebounds. I mean, she's setting double records in scoring and in rebounds, not assists. And she is I think number one rebounder in the league right now as a rookie. And then you got Caitlin Clark. This is wait a minute. I can do a triple-double, first time in history. So we do have a fight going on here. I like Angel Reese better than Caitlin Clark so far this year. It's not over yet. But for Rookie of the Year, we got a 2-horse race right now. Both made the All-Star team. They'll be playing, if I'm not mistaken, James, they'll be playing the WNBA Olympic team, if I'm not mistaken, USA team here shortly.
Are they? I thought they. Wait, you talking about? Are they on the Olympic team? Is what you're asking?
No. I think they're supposed to play Team USA in an exhibition.
Okay, that's news to me. My apologies. I'm not sure, but I like what's going on between those two. They're. I think the rivalry from college has gone on over to the WNBA, and I like Angel slightly right now. I think she has the edge for a Rookie of the Year, but that triple double, man, that's impressive to get that. You said that's the first ever in the league?
Yeah, as a rookie.
As a rookie, wow, that's still incredible though. I think both these ladies have the potential to write their own ticket for the rest of their careers and dominate. So it's exciting. I just don't know. Like I said, I've slightly picked Angel Reese right now for Rookie of the Year, but we'll see. They may come back and continue to dominate on her end.
I definitely agree with that. Jack, we got like 10 minutes left. What does it mean when you get expelled from the WBC? I've never heard of this before, so I want to know what it means.
Nothing at all. Not a thing. It sounds good. Expelling Ryan Garcia. Then Ryan Garcia apologizes, and he's going to go to rehab, and the WBC is going to say, oh, we applaud Ryan's efforts to straighten things out. The WBC completely supports him, and he'll be back. And listen, the 1-year suspension he got for the steroid use and all that was retroactive to last April for his fight with Devin Haney. So technically speaking, he's going to be allowed to fight this upcoming April. But considering that Ryan Garcia probably would not have returned into the ring until December, it just delays it a few months at the most. And even that might get moved up. Listen, the president of the WBC, Mauricio Suleiman, is a very good person. He's a nice guy, but he plays loose with the rules. He really does. You know, he is a compassionate individual because I know him personally, you know, but sometimes you have to come down hard on a guy. I don't want to hear he's in rehab and all is well and all is done. You know, if the WBC was in charge of baseball and he wasn't caught using steroids, who was supposed to be given an 80-game suspension, would be back after 15 games because, they see the error of their ways and this, and they went to rehab. It means nothing at all. Canelo Alvarez tested positive for drugs, but they said, it was tainted meat. Okay, there's always going to be an excuse, whatever. Maybe it was tainted meat. Who cares?
It was tainted. It was tainted with steroids. But I agree. And if Barry Bonds was a boxer, he'd be in the Hall of Fame right now.
Absolutely.
All those guys would be in the Hall of Fame right now. I agree.
Absolutely. You could just look at all the boxers who tested positive at one time or another. They go right into the Hall of Fame. It's not even a discussion point to keep them out because of that. And the ones that have been highly under suspicion,
yes,
they all go in. I could start naming names. I mean, big time fighters. It's just
and Jack, Pete Rose would be in the Hall of Fame right now too. I mean, if he was a boxer, he'd be in the Hall of Fame too right now. They openly bet on their fights in the boxing world. So.
Ryan Garcia bet on this fight with Devin Haney. Openly had the betting slip. And they got praised for Jake LaMotta, the Raging Bull, threw a fight. And he's in the Hall of Fame. He threw the fight based on that being the only way he could get a shot to fight for the middleweight title, and he eventually got the shot. Whether he would have been given the opportunity or not had he not thrown the fight, we don't know. But he did throw a fight, and it was all forgiven.
There you go. See, there you go. I mean, they picked the wrong sport to play in, I guess, is what the moral of the story is. So real quick, before we go, Wimbledon news, because it is big. IGA Swiatek gets knocked out of the first round. She was number one in the tournament. She got knocked out yesterday. Coco Gauff advances to the fourth round. And Djokovic advances to the round of 16. The 65th time in history. I think he's only behind one tennis player. So if he sticks around in a few years, he'll beat that record too. So Wimbledon's on all the time. I figured I'd give you a quick update on that.
Well, frankly, Djokovic, he's the face of tennis right now. And he means ratings. When he plays, people watch. That's why you want it to continue. And tennis is a little different from other sports. If Djokovic ever got to the point where he just was a very mediocre player, it wouldn't be the same as, let's say, Tiger Woods in golf. I mean, people tune in still to see Tiger Woods in golf, and he's no more than an average golfer right now. But Djokovic is still, at the top of his game. Is he a little past his prime? Perhaps. I'm not saying he is, but he's still an elite player. So when he plays, people tend to watch those matches, and the tennis organizers, they want him to advance deep into the tournament, because if he gets to the finals, it means big ratings as opposed to two names that aren't, that well known.
Yeah, just like we'll compare it to boxing again, just like boxing. Folks, we'll see you next week on the Big Football Show. Tomorrow, me and Jack are live on the Mac and Jack Sports Show, and Jack is back again at nighttime doing double duty as he goes on with Frank Lutierzo Gold, a glove fist at 7 p.m. And of course, we'll have shows all day for you folks. So stay with the Roku channel. We love you.